The snap of the rawhide whip wasn't the familiar crack against defiant horseflesh. It was sharper, colder. A predator's warning flicked with contemptuous precision, the lash biting into the air inches from the weathered porch post, where old Thomas Cartwright sat. The sudden violence sent dust motes swirling like frantic ghosts in the abruptly fractured stillness of the pine-scented morning. 10 yards away, Bartholomew Thorne, land speculator and the sharp-suited embodiment of redemption's burgeoning avarice, planted his expensive boots firmly in the earth. The polished silver crescents adorning the heels seemed to wink malevolently, digging possessively into Thoil his hungry eyes devoured. He looked like a carrion crow inexplicably dressed in fine wool. Behind him, 2 hired men shifted their weight. One remained impassive granite, but the other, a hulking brute named Kyle, whose knuckles seemed perpetually white around the grip of the Colt Peacemaker, holstered low on his hip, took a deliberate half-step forward. Kyle's eyes, small and mean under a shelf of thick brow, fixed on Thomas. A low growl, more animal than human, rumbled deep in his barrel chest. He subtly eased the Colt higher in its holster, the implied threat screaming louder than any shout. "Easy, Kyle," Thorne commanded, though his voice lacked genuine restraint, laced instead with a silken thread of its own. It sliced through the quiet like oiled steel. He never took his gaze off Thomas. "Last chance, Cartwright. This isn't a negotiation anymore. It's a final statement of terms. A truly generous statement, considering your obstinacy. Enough gold to see an old fool comfortably into his twilight years, rotting away far, far from all this." His dismissive wave encompassed not just the sturdy log cabin, built by hands that had loved this land, but the vast, embracing sweep of the Blackwood Range, peaks clawing at an impossibly blue sky. As if punctuating the contemptuous thought, Kale, with a smirk twisting his thick lips, reached out not for the nearby wildflowers, but for the oil lamp hanging from a rusty hook beside the cabin door. With brutal casualness, he smashed it against the porch floorboards. Glass shattered, oil splattered darkly onto the aged wood near Thomas's worn boots, the wick falling like a dead snake. The implied threat wasn't subtle, no. It reeked of kerosene and imminent violence. "Accidents happen, old man," Kale sneered, his hand drifting meaningfully back towards his Colt. "Fires start easy in dry weather, especially near spilled oil." Thomas, seated on the worn top step, the familiar grain smoothed beneath his calloused hands, flinched more visibly this time, the acrid smell stinging his nostrils, a sickening premonition twisting his gut. Yet his eyes, honed by 70 winters that had etched canyons onto his face, didn't waver from Thorne's. They held the clear, unyielding strength of the ancient mountains themselves. "This land isn't all this, Mr. Thorne. It's marrow in my bones. It's blood in the soil. It's the sacred promise my grandfather made to those who came before him, and the sweat my father poured into every log of that cabin. It is not for sale, not for spilled oil, not for your threats." Thorne's lips curled into a smile devoid of warmth, all calculation. "Everything has apris, old man, especially ground concealing a king's ransom in silver, wealth that belongs to progress, to redemption. Don't dare stand in the way. This town needs resources, infrastructure. It needs to become more than a muddy backwater." He gestured sharply back towards redemption, hidden down the trail. "The railroad is sniffing around. Cartwright. Big money. Opportunities that won't wait for sentimental fools. Redemption needs integrity far more than your tainted riches," Thomas countered, his voice quiet but carrying the resonance of generations. "My grandfather settled this place peacefully, traded respect with the Ute and Comanche long before your kind arrived, flashing deeds forged far away. My father raised this cabin, log by loving log. He pointed, his weathered hands steady, towards a densely wooded hillside untouched by axe for decades. This land provides sustenance, solace, perspective. It doesn't require plundering. It asks only respect. A concept alien to you. Thorn laughed, a harsh sound that startled birds. Stubborn fool, clutching dusty sentiment. He flicked his whip again, the crack sharper, impatient. Sheriff Brody understands progress, even if you don't. He agrees certain impediments must be removed. The mention of Brody, implicitly aligning law with naked avarice, sent a fresh chill down Thomas's spine. You'll regret this inflexibility, old man. Progress has sharp elbows. His eyes flickered towards Cale's Colt, and sometimes carries a gun. Remember my offer when you're feeling the pinch. You will feel it. He turned abruptly, contempt radiating. He gestured Cale and the other brute back towards their horses. They mounted fluidly, Cale pausing only to spit deliberately near the oil stain, eyes locking with Thomas's in final insolence. Thorn wheeled his expensive horse, silver crescents flashing like mocking eyes. His parting glance held a chilling, predatory promise. Thomas watched them thunder down the trail, their violation palpable, Brody's mention ominous. He slowly knelt, ignoring protesting joints, carefully picking up lamp shards. The dark stains soaked deeper into the familiar wood, a tangible mark of their intentions. The faint scent of untouched wildflowers seemed frail against acrid tang of oil and menace. He remembered his father teaching him the silent languagia of the forest, scripture compared to Thorn's crass demands, Cale's casual violence, the implicit threat of fire and twisted law. Below, the creek chuckled, oblivious, threading through the majesty of fir and pine, his sanctuary, his legacy. Now explicitly threatened, he'd watched redemption grow reluctantly, from hopeful cabins into a bustling town, smelling increasingly of sawdust and impatient ambition. He'd guided newcomers generously, shared his knowledge of seasons, streams, dangers, blessings. They called him Old Thomas, mostly respectfully, yet tinged with condescension for one living apart, closer to the earth. He hadn't minded. Until surveyors arrived weeks ago, their brass instruments glinting, chains clicking, intruding upon boundaries marked for generations by lichened rocks and ancient trees described on his family's brittle deed, until whispers of silver turned neighbors' greetings hesitant, then cold, replaced by tight nods and gazes freighted with envy or calculation. Mayor Silas Croft, all clammy handshake and self-importance, had followed Thorne's initial overtures weeks prior, thick with pronouncements about civic duty and the greater good. Beneath the veneer, the same raw avarice glittered. The paltry sum offered then felt like calculated pressure. This land benefits my soul just fine, Mayor, Thomas had stated firmly then, refusing intimidation. It provides more than silver ever could. It is not for sale. Croft's small eyes had narrowed. Progress waits for no man. Thomas, he'd muttered, revealing the petulant bully, especially an old one clinging selfishly to the past. Think about your neighbors. Prosperity. The implied threat. Manufactured public opinion. Isolation had been clear. An unnatural, watchful stillness had descended since that confrontation, broken only by Thorne's brazen visit this morning. The escalation, the arson threat, Cale's weapon, invoking Brody's complicity, it signaled patience had run out. They were moving to force the issue. Now, standing slowly, bones protesting, he scanned the beloved horizon. Trapper's instincts screamed wrongness. It wasn't just Thorn's visit. The sky, usually crisp azure, held a strange, hazy, bruised quality southwards. The wind shifted, eddying back, carrying something alien, sharp, acrid. Smoke. Note a thin white plume. A thick, churning, malignant pillar of dirty gray and bilious yellow erupting violently from the heart of the South Ridge. It billowed, pulsed like a living thing. Darkening ominously, a furious genie loosed. Fire, not wild, born of nature's spark. This felt wrathful, angry, fast, feeding voraciously on tinder dry underbrush left brittle by a long summer, and moving towards him, towards his home, his history, driven by the shifting wind. Straight up the valley, panic, cold and sharp, lanced through 70 years of resilience. Water barrels, shovels, damp burlap, axes for a fire break. His mind raced through the familiar litany of wildfire defenses. But gazing at the monstrous, rapidly advancing wall of smoke blotting the sun, they felt terrifyingly inadequate against such deliberate fury. This felt like an assault. He turned sharply towards the cabin, ready to fight against impossible odds, but a new sound froze him. Hoofbeats. Not Thorn's fading trio. Many horses, pounding frantically up the winding trail from Redemption. Urgent. Angry. Sheriff Brody's hulking form emerged first, larger, more menacing astride his bay. He led a grim-faced posse, tense townsmen, identifiable ranchers, and, riding near the front, almost preening despite the gravity, Thorn himself faced a theatrical mask of grim satisfaction, barely concealing triumph. With them were Cale and the other hired thug, hands near their guns, a flicker of desperate relief. They've come to help fight the fire, flared and died instantly. They weren't coming to help. They were coming. For him. Rifles rested ready across saddle horns. Faces set in harsh lines of accusation, not concern. Eyes, when they met his, were hard, condemning, reflecting the flickering, hellish light beginning to paint the advancing smoke clouds. Brody reined in sharply yards away, deliberately not dismounting, creating an imbalance of power. His voice, usually booming joviality, was stripped bare, flat, cold, official, deadly. Thomas Cartwright. Brody let the name hang in the thick, smoky air. By the authority vested in me by the Township of Redemption and under the Emergency Fire Act invoked this hour, you are under arrest. Thomas stared, bewildered, smoke stinging, heat a palpable wave, both momentarily unnoticed in shock. Arrest? The word felt alien. In God's name, Sheriff. For what? Arson. Brody spat the word, hard as granite, deliberately setting that fire. He gestured with his chin towards the now terrifyingly close inferno, consuming the South Ridge, recklessly endangering the lives and property of every soul in Redemption. Arson? The ground tilted violently. The sheer audacity, the monstrous injustice stole his breath. That's pure madness, Sheriff. Look at it. I just saw the smoke myself, not 5 minutes ago. Thorn and his men were just here, threatening me. They smashed my lamp, spilled oil. They did this. Thorn spurred his horse forward aggressively, crowding Thomas, radiating poorly masked, gloating triumph beneath a thin veneer of civic outrage. Don't play the innocent old hermit. Save your pathetic lies. We know you did it. Spite. Pure, poisonous spite. Because the town council voted overwhelmingly this morning to acquire the resources you hoard selfishly. Resources. Redemption desperately needs. Jed Sawyers saw you plain as day, shouted Abe Jenkins, honest but easily led. terrified for his small farm downstream, his voice fueled by fear and manipulated ignorance. Up on that south ridge just after dawn. Said he saw you sneaking around with oil cans and tinder. Said you looked guilty as sin. Jed Sawyers? The name struck Thomas like a physical blow, cold dread seeping into his marrow. Sawyers, a known drunkard, perpetually broke, easily swayed by bottler coin, his word as reliable as mist. The monstrous, elegant cruelty of the trap snapped shut, clear and horrifying in the swirling, fire-lit smoke. Thorne's words echoed. You will feel it. This was the pinch. This inferno, now a visible, pulsing orange wall devouring the south ridge, painting the sky Armageddon, was their manufactured proof, their leverage. Croft's maneuvering, Thorne's rapacity, Brody's horrifying betrayal, the cabal. Frame him using a bought witness. Use the genuine panic sparked by the massive, deliberately set fire. Invoke emergency powers to seize his land immediately, bypassing due process. Then, begin their plunder, tearing into the earth, desecrating the hidden Comanche sacred places Thomas knew of and had always respected, just as his father taught him, honoring his grandfather's long-ago pact. Places the surveyors marked near, obstacles Thorne intended to obliterate. This absolute lunacy, Thomas repeated, voice trembling now, not with fear, but helpless outrage. The injustice felt like physical violation. I have lived my entire life protecting this forest. Sheriff, not destroying it. Ask Owen Hardy. Save your desperate protestations for the territorial judge. If you make it that far, Brody growled, eyes flicking meaningfully towards the advancing flames, a terrifying threat hanging in the smoky air. Emergency act is invoked. Redemption threatened by your reckless act. Your land and all assets thereon are hereby confiscated. He spat the word again. Confiscated. Stolen. Using fire, lies, and twisted law. He looked from the horrifying inferno to the hard, accusing faces. Reason had no place here. Fear and greed, expertly fanned, blinded them. Get him, Brody ordered curtly. Tie him up. Two men dismounted clumsily, visibly uneasy, but urged forward by fear and the promise of silver. They advanced, ropes ready. Thomas backed instinctively against the sturdy log wall. The heavy wood-splitting axe leaned nearby, edge glinting faintly. For a wild second, the thought of snatching it, fighting back, flared hot. Suicide. Utter madness. But a lifetime of quiet dignity, deep connection surged into raw defiance. He would not be dragged away like a criminal, accused of desecrating what he loved most. Their slight hesitation, surprised perhaps by the fire flashing in the old man's steady eyes, was his only chance. Fractional, but enough. He pivoted sharply, not for the axe, but for the dense old growth woods flanking the north side, deeper into wilderness, away from the fire's obvious path. Adrenaline surged through aged limbs, ignoring startled shouts. Stop him! He plunged headlong into welcoming green shadows. Fire's roar, men's yells, faded behind his heart's frantic drumbeat. He ran, not fugitive arsonist, but steward fleeing thieves. Smoke stinging, heat intensifying relentlessly. He scrambled over deadfall, dodged branches, moving with agility born of desperation and intimate knowledge. Vanished into green depths he knew better than any man living, hunted, suddenly alone in his burning kingdom. The forest floor crackled treacherously underfoot. Lungs burned as if filled with embers, each breath tortured by smoke, scorching air, metallic taste off ear. He glanced back. Sky above ridge bled orange, red, roiling black, sun obscured. Posse's shouts sounded closer, angrier, Brody's furious commands echoing. They couldn't afford him free, a living contradiction. He stumbled against a giant ponderosa pine, 70 years pressing down. Weight of injustice threatened to buckle knees. Despair gnawed. His land, name, life incinerated. Croft's slime, Thorne's greed, Brody's chilling betrayal. They weaponized fear horrifyingly. Why Brody? Unless Thorne's silver, or something older, needed water desperately. Throat sandpaper, eyes streaming, angled stumbling flight towards Creek's familiar murmur, but smoke thickened dramatically descending, swirling, blinding, stinging mercilessly, visibility mere feet. Fire's roar intensified, freight train rumble, much closer, spreading laterally, faster than imagined, cutting off path. Panic clenched like iron fist. Couldn't see, breathe, think. Tripped hard on exposed route, sprawling heavily, air violently knocked out. Defeat felt suddenly seductive. Just stay, whispered through smoke-induced delirium. Let fire claim you. Easier than facing lies, cage, loss, then movement. Flicker in haze, not flames. Shadow detaching silently from deeper gloom. Utterly silent, liquid grace unnatural amidst crackling destruction. Froze, breath held, heart hammering. Wolf? Bear? No. Shape resolved, upright, lean, unnerving animal stillness. Stepped into momentary clearing, haloed by fire's hellish backlight. Tall, powerful, buckskin leggings, breechcloth, beadwork on armbands. Two long black braids framed stern, impassive face. High cheekbones, eyes missing nothing. Dark pools reflecting firelight without fear. Perched silently on shoulder, magnificent red-tailed hawk. Regarded Thomas with piercing, uncanny intelligence. A Comanche, seldom seen guardian of high country, rumored protector of sacred places, carried only long knife and unstrung bow. Aura of quiet, unshakable power radiated, mocking the chaos. Dark eyes fixed on Thomas, assessing, gauging torn clothes, racking coughs, exhaustion, despair. Strangely, no hostility, just profound stillness. Let tense moments stretch, punctuated by fire's roar and Thomas's ragged gasps. Thomas, grounded, coughing, pushed partly upright, staring back. Fear mingled with disorienting inevitability. On ancestral land, trespassing now as fugitive. What judgment? Slowly, deliberately, Comanche raised hand, palm outwards. Voice low, resonant, carrying above fire's rage. English learned, precise, native cadence distinct. The fire chases you, old one. Statement. Thomas only nodded, throat too raw. They hunt you, warrior stated, gaze flicking back, hearing acute. Townsman. Brody shouts your name. Says you carry guilt of this burning. It's a lie, Thomas rasped, voice rough, broken. Monstrous. Fabricated. The said it. Speculator. Thorne. Mayor. Croft. Brody. Sheriff. Helped. Steal my land. Silver beneath it. Framed me. Flicker crossed warrior's stoic features. Recognition. Understanding. Bitter taste of shared experience. Stolen land etched in his people's memory. Greed wears many faces, he said softly. Fire it's often used. Brutal tool. Quick. Undeniable. Moved. Kneeling gracefully beside Thomas. Hawk shifted silently. Cannot stay. Smoke weakens. Poisons lungs. Confuses mind. Fire line shifts. Not safe. Hunters. Clumsy but persistent. Will circle back. Find you. Offered worn leather waterskin. Thomas hesitated, then drank gratefully. Cool, clean liquid, life-giving balm. I am no Kona, warrior said, rising fluidly. Called Storm Bear by some, didn't offer handshake, stated name with quiet dignity. This land you call yours remembers my ancestors. Bones rest undisturbed in hidden canyons known only to the people. Spirits speak on wind. Voices trouble today. Thomas struggled painfully to feet, leaning against pine. My grandfather, Elias Cartwright, came before redemption. Settled peacefully, respected land, people. Father built cabin, loved woods. All I've known. Possession. Storm Bear observed. Gaze sweeping smoke-filled woods, often shifting sand. Land endures. Remembers loyalty, bond of true respect. That matters. Endures beyond paper deeds. Looked pointedly at Inferno. Men who hunt you, lit fire, poison bond, break faith with earth, seek shining rock, silver. Thomas nodded painfully. Yes, buried deep. And Thorn knows about sacred places. Surveyors mapped too close. Heard whispers. Fear they mean. Desecrate them. For easier access. Blast them away. Deep shadow crossed Storm Bear's stern features. Jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. Hawk sensed shift, ruffled feathers nervously, low sharp cry. Burial caves, Storm Bear breathed. Name spoken with reverence. Voice hardening, losing detachment. Spirit springs beneath high cliffs. Where visions come, must not be defiled. Awakens wrathful spirits, disrupts balance, brings ruin. Gaze became flinty, intensely personal. You resisted these men? Told them no. Always, Thomas confirmed, meeting intense gaze. Then framed me. Produced Sawyers. Brody had warrant already. No choice but flee. Shame washed over him. Torn from flash flood is wisdom. Storm Bear countered unexpectedly. Waters too strong. But floodwaters recede. What's damaged, revealed, must be faced. Tilted head, listening, filtering sounds with uncanny precision. Closing net. Calls nearer, fanning out. Think you head for Lower Creek. Circle tightens. Must move. Quickly. Away from fire's main path, hunters. We? Thomas echoed. Hope flickering, improbably. You carry truth of this fire, Storm Bear stated simply, decisively. Truth of this land, its violation. Also my truth. Ancestors whisper warnings against those who scar earth, disrespect spirits. Voice deepened, resonant, allowing them to succeed unchallenged, desecrate sacred places, betrays spirits, betrays my blood, breaks covenant, paused, eyes meeting Thomas's, and perhaps different personal note entered voice, ancient, profound, debt of honor. My grandfather spoke often of solitary white trapper, Cartwright, sharing fire, meager supplies, knowledge of hidden past during desperate moon of falling leaves. Long, long ago, sickness in winter camp, starvation walked among us. Cartwright showed respect, asked nothing, helped find safe passage, saved lives. Thomas blinked, stunned. Hazy fragments of family stories surfaced. Cautious goodwill. Grandfather Elias, quiet integrity, respect. Could it be? Connection reaching across generations? Storm Bear didn't wait. Survival now. Gestured urgently towards barely perceptible animal trail towards higher, rockier ground. Come. No place fire cannot easily reach. Sanctuary shielded be rock, ancient power. Place hunters do not know. Follow closely. Step where I step. Turned, moved into smoky twilight, silent as hawk, figure of profound, quiet defiance. Thomas hesitated, single heartbeat. Crushing despair receded. replaced by fragile coal of hope flickering stubbornly. Ally, improbable, powerful, bound by shared reverence, ancestral honor. Weariness momentarily forgotten, driven by renewed purpose. Survive, fight back, expose truth, followed Comanche deeper into burning, smoke-choked woods, towards uncertainty, escalating danger, but away from destruction, capture. Fight, he realized, had only just begun. Moving through smoke was drowning, every breath searing agony. Storm Bear navigated treacherous terrain with unnerving certainty, guided by senses beyond sight. Thomas struggled desperately, breath ragged, painful gasps, eyes streaming. World reduced to glimpse of buckskin back dissolving Yinto haze. Fire roared menacingly left, crackle, pop of consuming trees, deeper crash of falling timber, heat pulsing suffocatingly. Past charred deer carcass, grim testament to fire's speed, hunger. Averted eyes, stomach churning. Ahead, dimly perceived, darker scar emerged, massive, chaotic jumble of enormous boulders, sheer rock faces thrusting defiantly upwards. Stone sentinels. Old place. Storm Bear called back, voice muffled but reassuring. Fire avoids bare rock here. Wind currents shift, push flames northwards along ridge. Natural refuge. Trusting implicitly, Thomas stumbled after him up narrow, almost invisible path between immense granite slabs. Oppressive temperature dropped several degrees. Fire's roar muted significantly, softening to distant, angry grumble. Path opened abruptly into sheltered, concave hollow, encircled by towering rock walls. Clear, cold water trickled slowly from fissure high above, pooling into naturally carved basin. Dramatically cooler, quieter, air-tainted but breathable. Storm Bear's hawk, swift wing, launched upwards, landing silently on high ledge. Vigilant feathered statue scanning smoky sky, ravaged landscape beyond. Rest now, old one. Drink, Storm Bear instructed. Stoicism softened by concern. Thomas sank gratefully onto flat rock near pool, legs trembling violently. Splashed cool water on soot-streaked face, washed away grime. Tears, drank deeply, feeling life seep back. Storm Bear moved immediately to narrow entrance, watchful, still, listening with preternatural intensity. After long minutes turned back, expression confirming temporary safety. Main hunters search lower slopes, creek bed, he reported quietly. Brody divides them. Some push towards fire line near town. Others continue search. Predictable minds. Lack imagination. Respect for hidden ways. Underestimated forest, Thomas murmured, leaning back against cool rock. And you. Storm Bear turned fully, walking back. Expression unreadable. Underestimate much, he said, voice low. Greed blinds. Fosters arrogance. Makes men careless. Sat cross-legged opposite Thomas. Comfortable silence stretched, punctuated by water's rhythmic drip, fire's distant complaint. Why? Thomas asked finally. Why truly help me, Nokona? This isn't your fight. Storm Bear gazed outwards. This fire, he said slowly, deliberately, sickness unleashed, deliberate violation, consumes, destroys, respects no boundaries, yours, mine, spirits. Men who started it, Brody among them, carry same consuming sickness. Paused, gaze sharpening. Seek silver, yes, immediate hunger, fuel for lies. But beneath that, voice grew colder, harder, laced with ancient bitterness. Seek also erase history, our history. Memory of land, gestured vaguely. Those sacred places hold memory, living spirit power. Libraries of earth, archives of soul. Allow Thorn, Croft, Brody break them open with dynamite, scatter bones like garbage. Unthinkable desecration. Abomination. Cannot be permitted. Awakens things best left sleeping. Intense eyes met Thomas's. Your fight began over paper deed. Mine with desecrating sickness they carry. Our paths destined cross. Fire forged meeting place. Same battle, fought now on shared, violated ground. Paused again, added softly, recounting full narrative passed down. Thomas's grandfather Elias finding Stormbear's grandfather, weakened by hunger, illness after blizzard. Elias sharing precious food, fire, knowledge of hidden game trail, guiding partway, expecting nothing, sealing pact of mutual respect over shared fire, under bitter winter stars. Listening, connecting fragmented stories, Thomas felt profound continuity, threads woven across time, culture, pulled taut. Bond deeper than shared peril formed, shared respect for land, history, fundamental justice. Framed mezzo easily, Thomas said bitterly, Jed Sawyers. Sawyers, Stormbear repeated, brow furrowed, definite recognition now. Week 1. Trades fire water whiskey near redemption's edge, poisoning foolish young braves. Word worth less than dust devils, but frightened men clutching acquisitiveness, spurred by fear, believe any convenient lie told loudly by authority. Paused again, mind working strategically. Fire set deliberately south ridge. You certain? Thomas nodded. Dry place, Stormbear murmured, frowning. Wind exposed. Higher elevation. Far from cabin, yet placed deliberately, perfectly. Drive flames directly towards it. Calculated. Planned by someone knowing ridges. Brody knew ridges. Thorn surveyed extensively. Rose suddenly. Restless energy replacing stillness. Need proof. Hard proof. Not just our word, hunted fugitive, distrusted Comanche, against theirs. Something undeniable. Tangible show blinded townspeople deception. Ties fire, kerosene, directly Croft, Thorn, perhaps Brody himself. But how? Helplessness washed over Thomas. Trapped here, hunted, control narrative, law, guns. Fire creates chaos. Stormbear countered, voice gaining intensity, spark igniting eyes. Chaos creates opportunity, distraction. Hunters, townsfolk focus finding you, containing flames, panic, arrogance, believing plan successful, may have grown careless origin point, loose tongues, discarded tools. Glanced upwards significantly at Swift Wing. Swift Wing sees much, sees movement, and I know paths through mountains, revealed only by fire sometimes. White man never walked, might lead back undetected, turned back, decision etched. Rest now, old one. Truly rest. Conserve a strength. Need it. Fire past peak near here. Main heat moves north. Hunters shift. We go. Seek truth etched in ashes south ridge. Became silent watcher again at entrance. Thomas leaned back, exhaustion heavy cloak, but despair ebbed significantly. Stormbear's quiet confidence, purpose-rooted older, deeper, powerfully contagious. Sleep finally tugged. Closed eyes. Image of Comanche sentinel resolute against fiery chaos imprinted. Waiting. Turn. Confront. Fight back. Hours crept by, measured by fire's angry glow painting sanctuary walls. Acrid smoke drift. Thomas slept fitfully. Woke several times disoriented, heart pounding. Found Stormbear ever watchful. Comanche shared rations, smoked jerky, dried berries. Sustenance rebuilt strength. Cleared smoke fogged head. Bruised purple gray dawn. Storm Bear returned from reconnaissance. Fire's roar receded northwards, leaving scarred landscape, smoldering earth. Immediate threat passed. Main hunters pulled back creek, closer town. Storm Bear reported quietly. Urgent. Regrouping. Brody sent men back redemption, likely spreading exaggerated tales, fanning fear, solidifying false narrative. Buys time, Thomas said, pushing up stiffly, mind clear, focused. Storm Bear's dark eyes serious. Strong enough travel now? Journey difficult, burnt ground. Must go south ridge. Fire's origin. Before rain, wind hints at, or careless tracks obscure remains. Stiff, aching, resolute, cold purpose solidifying. Thomas stood straighter. Ready, Nokona. Let's find their damned proof. Moved out carefully into ravaged alien world. Devastation stark, brutal under flat gray sky. Skeletal black trees clawed heavens. Ground thick, choking gray powder. Unnatural silence, broken only by pop. Hiss smoldering embers, mournful cry displaced bird. Smelled overwhelmingly destruction, loss, cold ash. Moved extreme caution, using Gruen forest for cover. Storm Bear incredibly stealthy, reading signs. Thomas struggled match silence. Caution proved wise. Nearing charred bases out ridge, Storm Bear froze, holding hand up. Sank low behind fire, damaged fir saplings. Thomas dropped beside him, heart pounding violently. Below, picking through rocky, ash-choked creek bed, 3 riders. Brody absent, but Kale, Thorne's enforcer, present. With Twalgrim deputies Thomas recognized. Moved slowly, scanning banks, rifles ready. Weary but determined. Past oblivious, continued down creek bed towards town. Too close. Discovery meant immediate death. Waited until riders out sight, hearing before proceeding, shaken, more determined. Finally reaching blackened, exposed crest, where inferno erupted. Storm Bear signaled stillness, kneeling low, scanning ground meticulously. Reading ashes, fire-baked earth like ancient script. Partially obscured footprints first. Several sets, carelessly made. Townsfolk boots. Heavy, cleated, much heavier, clumsier than theirs. Pressed deep, hurried, heading back down. Yards further, partially protected by low rock outcrop deflecting fiercest heat. Dark, greasy stain, saturated baked earth. Faint but unmistakable sickening sweet reek, kerosene clung heavily. Nearby, tucked almost hidden among skeletal roots, consumed shrub, discarded kerosene empty, tossed aside carelessly after use. Position indicated thrown from near oily stain. Kerosene. Thomas breathed, choked white hotanger, voice shaking, poured thick, wide, deliberately. Storm Bear nodded grimly, face set mahogany, eyes cold contained fury. Ensure a fast catch, hot burn, placed perfectly, below crest. Ensure wind carried upslope rapidly, towards your land, driest timber. Meticulous search widened. Paused, scorched patch earth right beside heaviest kerosene pour. Carefully, gently, fingertips like feathers, brushed aside fine gray ash. Underneath distinct, sharp impression baked indelibly into earth by intense heat. Boot heel. Pressed deep, someone stood significant moment, watching flames take hold. Within clearly defined imprint, pressed deeply into clay like soil, tiny, peculiar, utterly unmistakable mark. Small, clean, crescent-shaped indentation. Small, easily missed, unless looking specifically, or knew significance. Look, Storm Bear murmured, low, intense, pointing steady finger. Thomas knelt stiffly beside him, squinting harsh gray light. Not random nick. Too clean, precise, deliberate. Tiny decorative metal stud or inlay, purposefully set into leather. Have seen this mark before, Storm Bear said slowly. Brow furrowed, deep concentration, accessing memory. Eyes snapped wide, sudden, absolute certainty. Thorn, speculator. Stood on porch this morning. Gaze a distant, remembering. Weeks ago, longer, surveyors first came near high meadows close sacred grounds, observed him. Lingered near boundary markers, pretending admire view. Eyes searched ground, marking features hidden map. Watched long time deep shadows, ancient pines. Never knew I there. Wore new expensive boots then. Outplace high country. Impractical. Small polished silver crescents inset precisely heels. Dandy's foolish vanity. Mark easy remember. Bartholomew Thorn. Standing right here himself. Personally overseeing ignition. Watching bloom into monstrous inferno. Not just directing, participating. Cold. Calculated. Personal evil. Jed Sawyers? Thomas asked hoarsely, needing full picture. Storm Bear scanned ground again meticulously, widening circles. Another set tracks led away ignition point, less distinct, shallower, stumbling erratically downhill towards redemption. Man drunk or terrified, both. Glinting faintly nearby, half-buried ash, almost stepped on stumbling footprints. Broken, jagged neck, small, flat bottle. Rank, unmistakable smell, cheap rot gut whiskey still clung faintly. Sawyers was here. Storm Bear confirmed grimly, nudging broken neck carefully toe soft moccasin. Bought paid lying testimony poison liquor. Likely saw nothing but shine Thorn's coins. Bottom this bottle before passing out stumbling away. Sharp eyes caught another small glint, partially trodden fine gray ash near Sawyer's unsteady tracks, almost invisible against gray backdrop. Single dropped coin. Bent smoothly picked up, examining carefully, rubbing ash away. Not standard U.S. coin. Heavier, brass or cheap alloy, crudely stamped emblem snarling wolf's head one side. Storm Bear frowned, studying. Have seen tokens like this before. Traded amongst foolish young men lose themselves, white man's gambling dens, redemption. Looked up, comprehension dawning. This specific token, snarling wolf, used exclusively high-stakes backroom games, Silver Nugget Saloon. Establishment Thorn owns outright. Pays private markers there, Heard whispered. Proof. Circumstantial perhaps. Each piece explainable alone, but together, mounting, damning. Discarded kerosene tin confirming accelerant. Thorn's distinctive print placing him directly at ignition point, personally overseeing. Broken whiskey bottle confirming Sawyer's presence, likely intoxicated state. Gambler's token, dropped carelessly, linking Arson directly Thorn's known haunts, hinting strongly potential desperation, needing silver wealth quickly. Gambling debts? Railroad pressure he'd mentioned? Thorn, hired hand setting blaze, using pliable Sawyer's fabricated witness, driven unseen financial pressures. Adding Brody's betrayal due to the old family grudge made it a perfect storm of avarice and resentment. Have show this someone, Thomas urged, hope, burning urgency warring within him. Someone trustworthy redemption, not Croft's pocket, Thorn's, afraid Brody. Few town readily trust Comanche's word, especially now. You hunted fugitive, old one, accused threatening homes. Storm Bear considered dangerous stark reality. Brody controls fear. Croft counsel. Thorn money, paused, thinking deeply, but truth suppressed festers hidden wound. Poisons everything. Must be brought light, however dangerous path. Thought another moment, gaze sweeping towards distant hazy outline redemption. Blacksmith. Owen Hardy. Trades fairly all approach forge, even my people sometimes, bartering. Speaks mind plainly, fears few men. Knew father well, respected greatly. Holds little love slippery croft, arrogant speculator thorn. Even Brody's often heavy hand. Brody's specific animosity towards the Cartwrights, rooted in that old land dispute lost by his own grandfather, would likely only fuel Hardy's distrust of the official narrative. Owen, Thomas breathed, profound relief flooding him. Yes, Owen Hardy, good man. Solidus iron he works, honest core, loyal. Approaching him carries great risk. Stormbear cautioned gravely, carefully wrapping evidence. Tin fragment, bottleneck, token, clay imprint, securely within soft hide. Brody's eyes, ears, thorns informants everywhere. Fear makes people watchful, suspicious, eager curry favor. Risk must take. No Kona, Thomas insisted. Newfound hard resolve solidifying gaze, replacing earlier fear, despair. Cannot let them win this way. Cannot let lies prevail while truth hides in ashes. Stormbear nodded slowly, accepting inherent danger, acknowledging necessity. Under cloaked darkness then, he decreed. Town sleeps uneasily. Stick shadows, hidden ways. Hardy's Forge west edge town, near woods, slightly apart. My approach unseen north. As prepared leave desolate ridge, taking last look crime scene. Swift wing cried sharply high overhead, circling, before winging higher smoky gloom. Stormbear looked up instantly, interpreting Hawk's pattern. Call effortless expertise. Hunters return, he said quietly, voice taut. 2 riders, spreading out creek bed below, moving slower, searching more thoroughly, perhaps looking body now, believing fire finished job. Let them search ashes, Thomas said. Different fire, fierce determination, burning own eyes. Vital work due darkness. Slip back down skeletal burnt forest, moving like ghosts through gray devastation. Phantoms carrying fragile explosive truth towards redemption. Twown likely messengers different worlds, united in justice, determined penetrate heart darkness festering beneath respectable facade, expose harsh light day. Descent painstakingly slow, agonizingly cautious. Every snapped twig sounded like gunshot, unnatural, quiet, burnt landscape. Night, deep, blessedly starless, under lingering heavy smoke pall, obscuring heavens. Finally shrouded valley, concealing darkness. Redemption lay below, scattering wary lights against immense blackness, deceptively quiet, vibrating uneasy palpable tension. Lights burned brightly defiant Sheriff Brody's office, revealingly inviting glow obscene silver nugget saloon. Fear clung town like shroud. Skirting watched main trails, followed creek far downstream, wading shockingly cold fast-flowing water. Icy shock momentarily revived muscles, washed away revealing grime soot, incriminating ash boots clothes. Hidden thick dark stand willows bordering town's western outskirts. Stopped observe, eyes adjusting darkness, listening intently town night sounds. Hardy's Forge, West End, beyond livery, Thomas whispered, pointing dark solid functional building hunched near edge woods, silhouette barely visible. Living quarters attached back. Back door faces trees. Stormbear nodded, scanning layout rapidly, assessing shadows, line sight, open spaces needed cross. Approach cover trees directly behind. Stay low. Move only wind rustles leaves. Listen intently before showing selves. Moving like drifting smoke, flitting between darkened outbuildings, using firewood stacks, abandoned wagons momentary cover, navigated periphery sleeping town, senses stretched taut, nerves humming adrenaline. Reached Densistan tall cottonwoods bordering Owen Hardy's property. Forge dark cold, hearth silent. Faint warm slit yellow light glowed beneath heavy wooden shutter. Single window attached living quarters. Low indistinct murmurs drifted faintly confirming someone awake. Storm Bear signaled Thomas Waite concealed behind immense trunk largest cottonwood. Silent falling snow crept closer, melting deep shadow alongside rough-hewn log wall dwelling. Pressing flat against logs, placed ear carefully visible crack beneath heavy, ill-fitting shuttered window. Listening unwavering focused intensity. Thomas waited hidden, heart pounding frantic heavy rhythm. Silence stretching amplifying tiny night sound. Distant dog bark, settling roof timber creak, frantic thumping own blood. Storm Bear slipped back soundlessly moments later, melting back shadow beside Thomas. Face dimly visible grim, lines etched deeper heard. Hardy inside, confirmed low urgent whisper, not alone. Sheriff Brody with him. Thomas's fragile hope plummeted like stone dropped deep dark well. Brody? Here? Now? Leaning on Hardy? Threatening? Worse. Hardy turned? Pressure, veiled threats, lucrative contracts. Finally broken friends' legendary integrity. Cold fist clenched gut. Brody questions him. Forcefully, Storm Bear relayed overheard conversation, terse whisper, voice tight controlled anger. About you. Asks seen you. Knows where hide. Demands information. Hardy denies everything. Voice steady, firm, truthful. Slight pause, Storm Bear filtering words. Brody grows angry. Calls you menace, dangerous fugitive arsonist. Says good folk redemption demands swift justice. Want you found, dead alive preferably. Says harboring serious crime. Another voice then, smoother, colder, dripping condescending authority. Silas Croft. Thomas recognized oily tones immediately. Mayor speaks now. Storm Bear's whisper grew tighter, hand instinctively dropping knife hilt. Reminds Hardy civic duty cooperate fully. Talks town safety, need unity crisis. Then. Storm Bear paused, significance clear. Then Croft mentions Hardy's pending, very lucrative contract. Large ironwork order proposed new municipal building. Project Croft implies vital redemption's future prosperity. Veiled threat, slick poisonous snake venom. Cooperate, blacksmith, or watch livelihood vanish. Croft Thorne clearly needed silver flowing fund, grand self-aggrandizing projects. Thomas felt surge, protective anger boil up friend. Intimidation, economic coercion. Insidious far-reaching methods cabal knew no bounds. Corrupting everything touched. Hardy holds ground, Storm Bear reported. Clear note profound admiration, entering low tone. Voice remains steady. Says knows nothing whereabouts. Tells them Cartwright always fair man. Respected forest above all, never burn it. Says arson charge just doesn't sit right. Smells fishy. Relief washed over Thomas. Potent welcome. Owen hadn't broken. He might even recall the old animosity between the Brody and Cartwright families, adding another layer to his disbelief. Muffled scrape, heavy chair pushed back abruptly inside. Brody's frustrated, menacing voice, louder now, clearly audible even Thomas's position. Best hope of telling God's honest truth. Blacksmith, own sake, harboring fugitive arsonist, especially one threatened whole town, carries heavy penalty territory. Very heavy. Heavy deliberate boot steps crossed wooden floor inside. Back door opened suddenly, spilling yellow light briefly yard, then slammed shut violent finality. Two shadowy figures detached brief spill light. Sheriff Brody Mayor Croft, walking briskly away, back towards town center. Shoulders hunched close together, angry, muttered conference. Departing forms radiated frustration, menace. Thomas Stormbear waited absolutely motionless, concealed deep shadows until sound, heavy footsteps faded completely. Faint light remained burning Hardy's window. Did not break, Stormbear said quietly. Respect evident voice posture. Strength, iron spine. Like metal hay works. Stubborn anvils pounds daily. Loyal, Thomas agreed. Immense flooding relief washing through, making legs feel weak. Owen, still Owen. Need talk him. Now. While alone, likely riled up threats. Cautious, silent approach, barred back door. Thomas knocked softly using old specific rhythmic pattern. Code used boys playing hide, seek same woods decades ago. Signaling across distances. Silence within tense moment. Then distinct, reassuringly solid sound, heavy iron bar lifted carefully thick brackets. Heavy wooden door creaked open few inches. Owen Hardy's rugged face appeared cautiously narrow gap. Stout, square-jawed, familiar features, lined soot, forge-etched now deep worry eyes. Instantly wary searching darkness. Who's there? Speak up. State business. Owen, it's me. Thomas. Hardy's eyes widened, stunned disbelief. Quick instinctive glance left right dark narrow alleyway beside forge. Clearly hadn't expected Thomas alive, let alone appeared door. Thomas. Saints above. Are you real? Get inside. Both of you. Quick now. Before someone sees. Slipped quickly small cluttered familiar room behind main forge area. Comforting unique smell enveloped Thomas homecoming. Hot metal cold coal smoke sweat leather horse liniment, faint aroma, strong brewing coffee. Hardy shot heavy iron bar. Back place, decisive clang securing door firmly. Turned disbelief, still warring profound concern, overwhelming relief. Washing over rugged features successive waves. God Almighty. Thomas, we all thought. Brody put word out likely. Dead, caught fire, or captured fleeing. Fire. Looked Thomas's ragged smoke-stained state, noting exhaustion etched deep friend's face, Stormbear's imposing silent watchful presence beside him. Curiosity flickered momentarily. Hardy's eyes regarding unexpected Comanche ally, but caution friendship, obvious urgency dangerous situation. Kept immediate questions unspoken now. Trust Thomas extended companion. Brody that smooth-talking snake Croft, just left here. Confirmed unnecessarily wiping sweat broad brow soot-stained forearm. Putting screws me proper. Threatening losing municipal contract, didn't tell where might be hiding. We heard, Owen. Outside, near window crack, Thomas said quietly, clapping grateful hand friend's solid shoulder. Thank you. Holding firm. Loyalty. Means. More words can say right now. Hardy waved off, gruffly embarrassment, warring visible relief overheard defiance. Never believed word damn story. Never. Not second. You burn Blackwood? Pure horseshit pardon French. Own anger suppressed facing Brody Croft, now surfaced replacing relief face hardening. New Croft, that avaricious slime thorn, were behind it somehow. Land yours, silver underneath. Shook head slowly disgust, thick voice. Been sniffing around like desperate wolves wounded deer ever since damned Eastern surveyors found traces last month. Drove mad greed. Did much more than just sniff, Owen, Thomas said grimly. Stormbear carefully, silently unwrapped soft hide bundle. Hardy's sturdy, scarred, workable laying out. Damning evidence, gathered ashes. Fragment kerosenitin. Still faintly reeking jagged neck. Cheap whiskey bottle. Unique snarling wolf's head. Gambler's token. Newly made still. Slightly damp clay imprint showing distinct crescent-shaped boot heel. Found these. Thomas explained, pointing each item. Hardy leaned closer, examining meticulously under single flickering lamplight. Ignition point. High up Southridge. Kerosene poured deliberately. Start firestorm. Whiskey payment. Jed Sawyer's poor fool bought coerced. Tapped clay imprint. Resting table. Thorn's boot. Stormbear recognized unique silver crescent heels. Saw them before. Pushed brassy coin forward slightly. This. Nearby dropped ash near Sawyer's tracks. Stormbear recognized. Seems Thorn might have partners needs payoff urgently, or maybe deep gambling debts, desperately needs cover. Maybe even leveraging Brody's old family grudge about the land his grandfather lost? Hardy leaned closer, picking up kerosene tin fragment, sniffing intently, expression, hardening granite. Studied clear crescent imprint clay, nodding slowly, recognition. Thorn's fancy dress boots. I seen 'em swaggering town. Little silver moons, hammered heels. Ridiculous frippery country. Always thought looked fool wearing 'em. Looked up then. His eyes usually warm, direct blazing. Now cold, righteous fury. So, did set themselves. Murdering greedy bastards. Framed you. Used fire panic town, invoke emergency law, grab land. Just like that. Gaze. Fell wolf's head token recognition dawning. This one high roller tokens private backroom poker game nugget. Been hearing whispers Thorn's been losing mighty big lately. Some say Croft too. Trying keep up appearances, placing bets well beyond legitimate means. And Brody wouldn't need much silver to sign on if it meant finally getting revenge on a Cartwright for his grandfather's loss. Exactly what suspect Owen, Thomas confirmed grimly. Pieces fit perfectly. Greed, desperation, ruthlessness, plus Brody's old bitterness. But proving convincingly, another matter. Brody Town paralyzed fear. Croft blinds, false promises, silver-fueled wealth. Need more than this. Hardy rubbed thick square jaw, shrewd mind working furiously, assessing evidence like flawed metal. Good, Thomas, real good. Powerful implication. Especially Thorn's boot print token linking directly. Brody's personal motive adds fuel. But Thorn deny everything. Claim boots stolen, someone copied mark. Croft back lies, mayoral authority. Brody shut down serious questions, instantly threats, disturbing peace, interfering official investigation. Coin. Tapped wolf token thoughtfully. Helps. Strongly hints desperation, maybe outside pressure, unseen creditors. But still try bluster bully way through. Control levers power. Began paces mall, cluttered room, restless caged bear. Heavy boots, thudding softly wooden floor. Need something. Undeniable. Something. Whole town. Witnesses directly simultaneously. Shatters carefully constructed web lies beyond possible repair. Turns tide, fear back against them. Stormbear remained silent, watchful, absorbing conversation, spoke then. Voice calm, measured, carried undeniable Waiton's room. Thorn. Croft. Brody. Meet often. Secret. Late night. Planning. Plotting. Back room, Silver Nugget Saloon. Thorn owns establishment, his den. Hardy stopped pacing, abruptly turning sharply. I heard whispers too. Thick thieves plotting dark back there after main bar closes. If discuss plans there, Thomas began slowly seeing glimmer, incredibly risky, audacious idea forming. Someone trustworthy overhears confessing? Laying it all out? Hardy finished slow, fiercely determined, almost dangerous smile spreading rugged face. Someone unexpected? Stormbear met Hardy's intense gaze across lamplit table. Silent understanding passed between pragmatic blacksmith, silent warrior. Walls sometimes have ears, Stormbear said softly, almost cryptically, or thin cracks, especially old buildings. Audacious, incredibly dangerous plan began. Take shape, small lamplit room, born desperation, righteous anger. Needed confirmation, ideally direct admissions. Guilt self-incriminating statements, straight conspirators' own mouths. Thorne's notorious private backroom nugget. Sanctuary viper's nest. Only place might happen. Highly risky. Hardy warned immediately innate practicality kicking in assessing dangers like flaws steel. Insanely risky. Brody usually has 1-2 loyal deputies lurking around Nugget, late night especially near backroom entrance. Thorne often his own hired muscle close by, Kale others. Every path holds extreme risk. Now Owen, Thomas replied, voice steady, infused hard, one calm. Time fear past. Hiding ashes while tear apart land slander name desecrates sacred ground. Maybe arrange convenient accident me out wilderness. Not living, just waiting slowly die. Stormbear nodded, curtly gesture, complete agreement. Spirits sometimes favor bold, said softly, almost himself, hand resting almost unconsciously, reassuringly smooth worn hilt, long knife, belted hip. Truth seeks light, even if must travel through deepest darkness first. Hardy looked intently between two disparate souls standing before him. Steadfast, the honorable old mountain man, lifelong friend. Silent, imposing Comanche warrior, unexpected powerful ally. United, profound sense justice, shared threat. Slammed, calloused, powerful hand down hard, heavy work to blur addling. Gathered evidence making lamp flame jump. Decision made. All right then. Deep resolve-filled voice, hardening already strong features. Granite determination. Damn risk. Let's figure just how get listening ears inside Viper's nest without getting ourselves fatally bitten. Small back room, blacksmith's forge. Illuminated single flickering oil lamp. Casting long dancing shadows. Became clandestine war council plotting. Next most dangerous move against deep corruption poisoning, very heart redemption. Silver Nugget Saloon, near midnight. Muffled sounds, raucous laughter. Tinny plink, eternally out of tune piano fighting. Losing battle, loud conversation, pervasive stale smell spilled. Beer cheap cigar smoke wafted faintly quiet main street. Bartholomew Thorne's heavily guarded private back room. Known inner sanctum secret deals, high-stakes gambling towns, elite Thorns. Private consultations. Primarily accessible via reinforced locked door just off main bar area, usually watched one Thorn's men. However, Stormbear nucleate meticulous observation, previous nights, scouting town's routines. There was another potential less obvious point access. Single heavily shuttered window opening directly narrow garbage-strewn, perpetually shadowed service alley running behind building. Audacious plan, crystallized demanding, precision timing. Stormbear's unparalleled stealth. Owen Hardy's intimate knowledge town's layout. Characters carefully orchestrated significant distraction. Hardy confirmed reliable tavern gossip, gleaned earlier trio. Thorncroft Brody, often met back room near midnight review pressing town business. Widely understood, euphemism. Clandestine plotting coordinating narratives. Alley window, despite heavy shutters, offered only conceivable access, point effective eavesdropping. Shutters, thick oak, double-planked. Hardy explained rapidly, sketching rough layout alley surrounding buildings piece. Scrap brown paper, chunk charcoal cold forge. Built solid. But small gap, maybe half-inch right bottom edge near sill left side. Woods warped slightly over years, pulled away frame just enough. Noticed once delivering iron hinges back door repairs. If press ear right against crack, or use something amplify sound, carries surprisingly well inside, especially if talking loudly. Can get close enough. Stormbear affirmed, quietly studying sketch, intently visualizing approach. Alley shadows, deep darker moonless night, deep canyon. Overflowing trash bins near window provide ample cover. But guards? Thomas asked, familiar tightness anxiety. squeezing chest iron fist. Seemed too simple vulnerable, said Brody Post's deputies Owen, Thorne his own men. Usually just one posted back, specifically watching alley entrance. Hardy clarified, tapping sketch. Thorne's personal lackey big ox named Larson. Thick neck, slow wits, mostly muscle. Watches alley entrance street end. Make sure no riffraff wanders back there. Not brightest bulb chandelier Larson. Easily distracted commotion, likes feel important, stick nose in. Distraction became Thomas Hardy's crucial, dangerous role. While Stormbear slipped unseen, unheard dark alley, positioned himself near window, needed create significant commotion. Something guaranteed. Pull vigilant Larson away, post reliably several crucial, uninterrupted minutes. Commotion, Hardy mused, stroking thick beard, thoughtfully brow furrowed. Something down street. Not too close. Raise immediate alarm near Nugget itself, but loud visible enough. Draw him away irresistibly, make him feel needs. Investigate. Assert some authority. Perhaps small fire? Thomas suggested, bitter, unavoidable irony stinging sharply. Fighting fire lies exposure. In big wooden trash bins further down block maybe? Near Mercantile? Needs look alarming. Hardy nodded slowly, considering logistics risks. Yes. Carefully controlled though. Very carefully. Needs look much worse, actually is generate lots smoke shouting quickly. Should bring Larson lumbering over fast wanting. Seem useful, be part excitement. Began gathering small pile oily rags, corner bin, checking flint steel, always carried. All right, leave part me. No just spot sheltered direct view Nugget initially. Near midnight, clock faintly visible church tower downstream, began slow chime. 3 allies moved back out, dark and tense streets melting shadows. Hardy peeled off first, heading silently towards designated spot, down block. Near Mercantile carrying bundle oily rags. Smoke-making materials. Discreetly nondescript burlap sack. Thomas Stormbear melted absolute blackness, deep recessed doorway, directly opposite narrow entrance Silver Nugget service alley. Concealment complete. From here, Thomas clear direct view alley mouth, saloon's front entrance adjacent buildings. Could clearly see Larson pacing short, monotonous beat back forth across alley entrance, silhouetted occasionally against faint light filtering. Main Street. Looked bored, restless, frequently spitting stream brown tobacco juice, thick dust. Minutes stretched each one, feeling agonizing hour, measured distant chime church clock marking quarter hour. Tension palpable thing, thickening air. Thomas found himself holding breath without realizing. Then exactly planned sudden bright orange flicker erupted further down block, momentarily illuminating facade dark Mercantile. Followed swiftly rapidly growing plume. Thick, dark, acrid smoke, billowing upwards. Almost immediately prearranged shouts, followed Hardy's voice, expertly disguised, joined quickly. Others Hardy must have discreetly alerted. Fire! Fire! Back here! Near Mercantile. Saloon doors swung open immediately. Few late night. Stragglers spilled out onto boardwalk, pointing yelling drunken confusion, turning rapidly alarm, creating instant chaos drawing. Attention, away alley. Larson hesitated only split second, clearly torn between a sign post guarding alley innate primal allure developing fire sudden commotion. Excitement chance involved one easily. Turned lumbered off quickly down street eagerness. Replacing boredom heavy features joining small growing crowd gathering around now. Impressively smoking though likely still small contained blaze. Now, Thomas whispered urgently throat suddenly sandpaper dry. Stormbear didn't need instruction. Moved like flowing smoke, blur across narrow dusty street, utterly silent, vanishing instantly, completely waiting absolute blackness, narrow. Service alley. Thomas held breath again, pressing deeper, concealing doorway, every nerve stretched taut, screaming tension. How long Storm Bear have? Would villains even be back room? Talking? Could even get close enough here useful through thick shutters? Risks felt enormous, overwhelming. Inside alley blackness, almost absolute deeper, any forest shadow, save very faint indirect light, filtering down distant street end commotion growing. Stench overpowering, rotting garbage stale, beer indefinable filth accumulated weeks. Storm Bear moved innate certainty, predator element senses hyper alert. Located heavily shuttered window, easily confirming slight warp narrow gap. Near sill left side. Hardy described barely wide, admit width finger. Flattening himself completely against rough plank wall. Directly beneath window. Pressed ear. Tight against rough weathered oak shutter. Concentrating intensely consciously blocking out. Growing noise confused. Shouting drifting street. Focusing heightened senses inward listening. Faintest sound within room. Silence first. Just muffled sounds front bar bleeding through walls. Then, voices. Suddenly clearer, now muffled but distinctly discernible through narrow crack. Thorn's sharp-edged, impatient, laced agitation. Croft's smoother, higher-pitched, almost whining, attempting placation, failing. Sheriff Brody's familiar gruff rumble, lower, more measured, but undercurrent something. Harder. This time, maybe due to the earlier confrontation, Brody's voice carried a raw edge hinting at the personal feud as much as official duty. Still getting terribly nervous. Bartholomew, Croft was saying, voice betraying mounting anxiety lacking usual mayoral pomp. Hardy was far too calm tonight, too defiant. And Cartwright, just vanishing like smoke, doesn't feel right. Brody's men haven't found body, haven't found tracks. What if that Comanche tracker did find him? Storm Bear knows things about these hills. Relax, Silas. Damn you! Stop incessant whining. Thornez snapped viciously, though own voice held distinct undercurrent, tightly controlled tension railroad, deadline weighing heavily. Old fool bear scat by now, cooked precious woods, or hopelessly trapped fire lineway, effectively set. Panic smoke inhalation likely, finished him flames didn't. Even if by some miracle somehow survived on. That redskin found him, who God's forsaken gullible town. Possibly believe, word fugitive arsonist. Savage over ours? Over mayor sheriff man bringing prosperity? Scoffed dismissively. Have law embodied Brody here firmly sighed. Have Sawyer's sworn witness a testimony. Have confiscated legally recorded deed. Practically done. Preliminary assays rushed through already confirmed riches beyond wildest dreams. Just hold steady few more days until official territorial surveyors finish report, which already ensured rubber stamp favorably. Then file new claim legally under emergency seizure clause. Nearly finished. But voice hardened urgency Haverford. Railroad baron's man, breathing down neck. His absolute deadline finalized secured mineral rights survey end this week. Friday. Need finalized before then. Barton or entire deal railroad. Spur investment. All collapses. And my creditors. Left implication hanging heavily air. What about the Comanche Thorn? Brody interjected, then voice low, deeply uneasy, cutting Thorn's bluster. Storm Bear pressed ear harder wood. My deputy young Miller found fresh moccasin tracks earlier today. Clear ones. High up near Stone Sentinels area, where thought Cartwright might logically head survived initial fire spread. And those tracks. Brody sounded almost personally offended Cartwright might have an ally. Especially that kind of ally near that land. Heavy pregnancelence fell suddenly room. Storm Bear could almost feel shift tension. Storm Bear. Thorn spat name like venom, pure hatred, dripping word. Interfering red devil. Still lurking these hills like ghost, thinks whole damn mountain range belongs dead ancestors. Slammed fist down hard, heavy oak table, inside making glasses rattle audibly. If ease helping Cartwright, if somehow connected, then we deal with him too. Brody stated flatly, voice taking harder, colder, more pragmatic edge sensual down Stormbear's spine. Felt, personal, now confirmed. Brody wasn't just enforcing corrupt bargain, settling old family score vicariously, trespassing confiscated government-seized land, inciting unrest tribes maybe, resisting lawful authority when confronted. Plenty charges stick firmly when man resists arrest forcefully enough, especially hostile Comanche, interfering official business. Brody paused, voice dropped further, becoming chillingly practical, utterly devoid emotion. Accidents happen mountains all time, Thorn, especially pursuing dangerous fugitives. Rock slides, falls, stray bullets during apprehension. Let implication hang. Then added and already made absolutely sure Sawyers understands exactly what happens. Wife, little girl, back town. If even thinks about changing one word, sworn story. Cooperation guaranteed. Clear, brutal, sickening threat against innocent family. Secure perjury fueled by greed. And Brody's twisted sense of inherited grievance. And sacred sites? Croft asked, nervously, voice now almost squeak, revealing own deep-seated fear, perhaps more than earthly consequences. Thomas could vividly picture portly Mayor sweating profusely, despite cool night air. Brody, Thorn, disturbing Comanche burial grounds. Old Spirit Springs makes people uneasy. Even folks avid for wealth talk, old stories. Bad luck. Vengeful spirits, sentimentality, superstitious, primitive nonsense. Thorn scoffed, contemptuously dismissing Croft's concerns, casual brutality. Rock dirt, Silas. Just rock, potentially very valuable dirt, hiding riches. Obstacles. Once officially file claim this damnable railroad. Deadline, pressure finally off, blasting crews already contracted clear entire upper plateau area, systematically. Need efficient direct access heavy machinery. Can't afford delays digging around old bones. Wealth, deadline, railroad contract. That is what matters. No. Progress, wealth, prosperity. Laughed again, grating humorless sound devoid real mirth. My considerable gambling debts certainly won't pay themselves off, prayers, mountain spirits. Let damned spirits complain, coyotes, buzzards, all I care. Progress demands sacrifice. Full picture emerged, uglier than imagined. Thorn heavily indebted, desperate, driven, external deadlines, personal cravings. Croft terrified, possibly torn, greed, superstitious fear, utterly lacking spinaricist. Brody, chilling surprise. Enforcing scheme, not just shared profit, but brutal threats, cold-blooded murder planning, dealing. Stormbear Thomas, chilling pragmatism fueled. Now Stormbear sensed distinctly more than just greed, twisted duty. Simmering, deep-seated personal resentment directed Cartwright name, rooted. Old land battle. Clink, heavy glasses slosh, liquor poured generously. Starting toast, perceived imminent victory, successful resolution, Cartwright problem. Heard enough. More than enough. Truth lay bare, ugly, damning. Began ease back cautiously from window detaching wall. Commotion down street near Mercantile already dying significantly. Small managed fire, presumably extinguished under control. Hardy done job perfectly. Larson returning post any second, perhaps puffing himself up, exaggerated tales roll managing crisis. Suddenly frantic, unexpected scuffling noise. Erupted deeper alley's darkness. behind him near overflowing bins. Stormbear whirled instantly, reacting blurring speed, pure instinct, long knife, miraculously silently appearing handblade gleaming faintly. Stygian darkness every sense, screaming immediate danger. Huge mangy rat, disturbed garbage feast, scurried away noisily over overflowing trash bins, disappeared gloom. Stormbear let out silent, carefully controlled breath, heart hammering ribs. Too close. Noise could alerted anyone nearby. Larson returned early, heard scuffle. Needed move, now. Slipped soundlessly towards alley entrance ghost. Merging deeper shadows, emerging silently, profoundly dark recessed doorway. Opposite, where Thomas waited, vibrating plucked bowstring, accumulated anxiety, anticipation. Did you hear? Thomas whispered urgently, hand instinctively grabbing Stormbear's strong forearm. Did they talk? Stormbear nodded, grimly, face hard granite darkness. Everything, breathed word heavy disgust. Admissions. Explicitly confirming frame up. Detailing entire plan mineral extraction. Bragging handling Sawyers. Paused letting weight sink in. Explicitly planning destroy sacred places dynamite soon claim filed. Driven intense pressure railroad barons looming deadline. Thorn confirmed gambling debts pushing hard. Brody. Brody revealed part goes beyond just avarice. Directly threatens Sawyer's innocent wife, child, insurance. His animosity towards your name, the old land fight, it fuels him. Stormbear met Thomas's eyes squarely, darkness sharing terrible finality, and spoke coldly, clear intention. Silence, you permanently old one. Soon, me, if continue interfere. Brody practically outlined staging accidental deaths. Cold, righteous fury settled deep within Thomas, displacing lingering fear, solidifying pure, unyielding steel. Utter callous disregard life. Land heritage, basic human decency. Casual plotting murder, brutal coercion, innocence, planned desecration, sacred ground. Transcended greed. Pure evil, festering heart, redemption. Resolve hardened. No turning back. Have exposed them, said voice, low, harder ironwood. Whole town, now, tonight. How? Stormbear questioned, immediated dangerous practicality. Our word, hunted fugitive, distrusted Comanche, against elected mayor, sworn sheriff, richest, most influential man town. Brody still controls law, guns, narrative, fear. Thomas looked towards dying red embers. Hardy's successful distraction fire. Down street crowd now dispersing, then back warmly. Lit, shuttered. Window saloons, private back room, where conspirators sat, feeling safe, arrogant, powerful. Incredibly audacious, insanely risky idea, sparked suddenly, blindingly mind-born, utter desperation. Feel safe there. Breathed plan, taking shape, astonishing speed. Arrogant, overconfident, celebrating imminent victory, congratulating selves. What if? What if whole town could hear exactly what you just heard right now? What if those treacherous walls truly did have ears tonight, ears connected entire community? Stormbear's eyes widened slightly, darkness, instantly grasping stunning, almost suicidal implication. Mean, lure townspeople here, gather somehow, mouth these alley, while still inside talking? Exactly. Thomas confirmed, voice filled newfound desperate energy, audacity plan, terrifying yet exhilarating. Need Hardy again. Need much bigger distraction time. Something compelling, urgent, impossible, ignore. Brings everyone running right. Here. Very doorstep. Nugget demanding answers, creating chaos right outside door, just as vipers inside damning. Selves perhaps getting louder, more careless with drink. Highest order gamble, staking everything one incredibly dangerous throw dice. Meant revealing selves fully, likely provoking immediate violent confrontation. Brody Thorne's men relied entirely unpredictable, fickle reaction. Frightened, confused townspeople banked desperately hope, hearing unvarnished, ugly truth directly conspirators' own mouths finally shatter. Powerful spell fear. Greed. Croft Thorne. Brody so expertly woven around redemption. Extremely dangerous. Stormbear stated calmly, slight emphasis, first word, conveying immense peril hand, never leaving comforting hilt knife. Cornered animals, especially guilty ones, do not surrender easily. Bite. No. Thomas said, meeting warrior's intense gaze, squarely darkness, drawing strength, quiet resolve. Didn't survive 70 years, mountain didn't survive. Their fire only hide shivering ashes while triumph. Slipped away silently from alley entrance, conspirators damning. Overheard words echoing poison minds, melting back deeper shadows towards west. End town seeking Owen Hardy once more. Forge mere minutes later, illuminated again. Single defiant lamp. Became true war room plotting, not destruction, boot exposure. Planning ignition, different kind. Dawn still hours away, but different, far more profound, infinitely more dangerous kind light. About attempt break over corrupted heart redemption. Owen Hardy listened, intently rugged face. Darkening further, turning thunderous stone, each recounted detail Stormbear. Explicit callous. Plans, dynamiting Comanche sacred grounds. Cold-blooded discussion. Silencing Thomas Stormbear. Permanently immense pressure railroad barons. Looming deadline. Thorns revealing panic, gambling debts, driving recklessness. Brody's cruel stomach, churning threat. Jed Sawyer's innocent. Wife, daughter. Hardy learned too dawning comprehension. Brody's underlying personal animosity. Cartwright name, bitter resentment. Stormbear clearly. Sense a dinner-woven sheriff's avarice, corrupted duty. Toxic element made Brody even more dangerous, unpredictable. Blast them all straight deepest pit, fiery hell. Hardy swore vehemently oath, ripped chest, massive blacksmith's fist, hitting sturdy oak workable. So hard-made iron tools jump rattle. Talking silencing you, Thomas. Like swatting damn fly. Brody. Threatening little Jenny Sawyers? Man, no soul left. Ripping up spirit grounds. Even folks blinded by silver frenzy wouldn't stand that if knew. If truly believed. Wasn't just savage superstition. Need hear themselves. They have hear themselves, Owen. Thomas repeated, voice tight, urgent conviction. Directly. Undeniably. From devil's own mouths while drunk power whiskey back room. Another distraction then? Hardy asked, practical considerations immediately taking over sharp mind, already racing, assessing possibilities, discarding impossible options. Bigger much? Bigger simple trash fire time? Something bring them all running HERE? Much bigger, Thomas confirmed grimly. Needs immediate right next door. Needs hit where live threaten promised prize. Needs bring everyone. Scared citizens, acquisitive speculators, guilty conspirators. Right here, Nugget's doorstep milling around confused. Anxious, demanding answers. Brainstormed furiously, rapidly under immense pressure. Ringing church bell wildly, cause panic. Scatter people unpredictably across town, not concentrate here. Staging loud fake gunfight near saloon, far too risky, almost guaranteed, escalate real bloodshed. Jumpy deputies, armed townsfolk involved. Needed controlled urgency, central compelling focus point, immediately adjacent silver nugget. Stormbear eyes gleaming sharp tactical insight, born reading terrain enemy minds. Suggested perfect target. Assay office. stated quietly, pointing mentally. Building directly abutting saloon east side. Stands directly next door. Walls practically touch. Holds official proof, tangible symbol, physical validation, wealth crave, deceitfully promised, entire town. Appearance, sudden dangerous fire. There. Smoke. Hardy caught instantly, eyes lighting up, fierce comprehension, slamming fist palm. Course, my four smoke pots. Filled sulfur damp rags pitch. Benign mostly, but create incredibly thick, choking, terrifying looking yellow-gray smoke. Looks just like structure fire, smells foul, but causes little real damage contained properly. Placed right hidden underneath assay office. Boardwalk near front. Close street, then raise alarm loud clear. Fire. Fire, assay office. Assay records burning. Whole town fever, gripping tight. Thomas mused, seeing cold genius plan immediately. Threatening physical proof, future wealth documents guarantee prosperity. They'll come a-running, every last one, greed, fear. Croft, Thorne, Brody. Have. Come bursting out too, forced publicly managed situation, visibly protect, promised prize key, everything. And while everyone's gathered right here, Hardy continued, audacious multi-layered plan, solidifying rapidly, panicked, milling confusion, right outside saloon, jammed between burning. Assay office nugget, just need ensure damning conversation, back room happens again. Loudly. Maybe commotion outside panics them, makes argue loudly, railroad deadline jeopardized. Or perhaps more likely, Storm Bear predicted, shrewdly understanding human nature, especially guilty, sharp, cynical, believing you safely dealt Thomas. Their intricate plan, nearly complete, secure behind locked door, sudden commotion. Simply make bolt door tighter, pour another celebratory drink, start boasting, arguing even louder, feeling secure, superior inside, while chaos reigns helplessly without. Drink loosens tongues. Arrogance makes men careless. So, hard to summarize, ticking critical points off rapidly, thick, calloused fingers. Set smoke pots beneath assay office boardwalk out, immediate sight. Raise the alarm, loud, panicked. Draw entire gathering crowd right where concentrated. Prey vipers inside, start talking loudly again, damning selves. Paused abruptly, significant new problem surfacing, brow furrowing deeply. But who listens time? Storm Bear maybe get back alley, but how get words out? More importantly, who tells gathered crowd what's actually being said? Larson Thorne's guard dog be out front again. Maybe right alley mouth after first incident. Brody certainly, deputies pushing people back, trying control chaotic scene. Won't let anyone just wander casually, narrow dark alley, listen time. Will be alley again, Storm Bear stated, quiet, unwavering finality. Stealth his domain. Would find way. But how possibly relay words no Kona? Thomas asked, desperately, critical flaw glaring. Can't just step out, shout shadows. Shoot down instantly. Storm Bear's sharp, intelligent eyes scanned cluttered forge, rapidly assessing available materials, gaze landing loose coil. Thin, flexible copper tubing lying discarded, corner left over. Forgotten piping still making job. Sound travels, said cryptically, picking up coil. Perhaps maybe 12 feet long, narrow, easily bendable. Through air, water, hollow tubes. Straightened length tubing testing flexibility. One end placed carefully, discreetly near shutter gap inside alley. Other, looked towards dimly imagined mouth alley outside. Hardy's eyes suddenly lit up, explosive understanding. Practical mind, grasping implication instantly. Listening tube. By God, like speaking tubes, use big riverboats between pilot house engine room. Yes. Can feed other end carefully out alley. Entrance keep hidden low, along base saloon wall. Where someone hidden. Very. Close by, right edge gathering crowd can hear clearly. Thomas finished grasping brilliant, desperate potential. But who, Owen? Who possibly hide there right under noses midst chaos? Who town possibly believe even if heard? Owen Hardy looked down own massive callous capable hands stained soot honesty, then met Thomas's anxious gaze directly squarely. Saw hope, fear, desperate need. Knew required. Need someone won't immediately suspect part desperate scheme. Said slowly, thoughtfully, voice steady but low. Someone blend edges chaos naturally. Someone town. Well, someone town might. Actually listen trust. If speaks precisely right moment. Absolute conviction backed by truth. Drew deep long breath decision settling heavily firmly broad chest. Can do it Thomas. No shadows there. Can hide near alley mouth maybe behind empty rain barrels against nugget wall. With other end copper tube pressed tight ear. And when time absolutely right when murdering bastards inside truly undeniably damned selves own vile words coming straight through tube. I step out. I tell people my neighbors exactly what heard. Owen, no, Thomas protested immediately horrified, immense risk friend volunteering take. Absolutely not. Sees you spot. Brody won't hesitate. Might even shoot down right there, claim inciting riot. Let him try, Hardy said, stubbornly, square jaw, set bedrock eyes, fierce determination. High damn time someone town stood up tall, called out festering corruption what is. Stood up against Brody's bullying, Croft's slime, Thorne's arrogance. If hearing plain, unvarnished truth, Owen Hardy blacksmith turns tide. If saves life, Thomas stops desecrations, then worth whatever damned risk. Comes it. No arguing iron resolve voice. Danger immense, almost unthinkable. Success hinged precariously perfect split. Second timing. Storm Bear's infiltration. Hardy's concealment, unpredictable psychology. Panicked crowd. Villains actually incriminating selves loudly again. Hardy's incredible, unwavering courage. Face overwhelming power, certain reprisal. Failure meant instant exposure, likely swift, brutal death. Thomas Stormbear, severe, potentially lethal consequences. Hardy. No second chances. Refined, final critical details, focused, desperate urgency. Hardy quickly prepped 2 large smoke pots, carefully mixing sulfur damp rags, saltpeter, other smoky chemicals, ensuring produce thick acrid. Visually alarming smoke quickly wouldn't actually burst dangerous flame. Carefully checked thin copper tubing kinks blockages. Storm Bear mentally re-scouted alley, noting Larson's usual pacing pattern, identifying optimal listening position, shielded trash bins best. Way discreetly conceal exit point copper tube, along base wall, near alley mouth, perhaps hidden loose debris weeds. Thomas, too recognizable, now wanted fugitive take up concealed position again, deep doorway directly across street. Vital vantage point offering. Clear view saloon entrance, assay office, boardwalk, crucial alley entrance. Ready intervene only if absolutely necessary, desperate suicidal last resort. Distant church tower clock chimed single heavy stroke, 1 a.m. By now, conspirators inside Nugget's back room should be deep cups feeling secure after chasing off Hardy, likely finalizing plans land seizure. Boasting, celebrating perceived, imminent, inevitable success. 3 allies moved out again. Oppressive darkness. Hearts pounding, tense, anxious unison fate. Thomasland, perhaps very soul redemption. Hanging precariously balance. Hardy carrying heavy smoke pots. Carefully shielded nondescript burlap sack. Slipped like large purposeful shadow towards wooden boardwalk. Flanking front dark assay office. Storm Bear coiled copper tubing, now belted, securely, accessibly waste, melted once again, impenetrable shadows, narrow service alley heading, shuttered window. Thomas found precarious concealment again. Deep, dark recessed drapery shop doorway. Opposite pulling worn hat low, forcing breathe slowly. Trying desperately control frantic hammering chest. Main street deathly quieter now usual late night drunken revelers long staggered home passed out. Thomas watched intently. Hardy knelt briefly almost invisible beneath raised wooden boardwalk, directly front assay office. Faint scraping sound. Then Hardy moved quickly, silently disappearing, completely dark as shadows, right beside narrow alley mouth, presumably. Positioning himself in listening tube. Minutes crawled by thick, agonizing, unbearable tension. Thomas's muscles ached, coiled readiness. Sheer effort remaining utterly still. Eyes strained, scanning darkness. Imagining Storm Bear pressed against wall, Hardy huddled nearby, waiting, listening. Then, faint tentative wisps, thick foul-smelling yellowish-gray smoke, began curl slowly out beneath assay office boardwalk. First, just little, then rapidly dramatically intensifying, billowing upwards, realistic alarming clouds, catching faint ambient light, creating perfect terrifying illusion, dangerous structural fire, originating within building itself. Moment later, exactly planned, Hardy's disguised, deliberately roughened voice roared out, filled convincing panic shadows near alley. Fire! Fire! Help! Assay office burning. Get help. Records. All official assay records burn. Hurry. Effect instantaneous electrifying. Front doors. Silver Nugget Saloon burst open, violently spilling harsh light, confused men onto boardwalk. Gamblers, drinkers. Thorne's cronies looked bleary-eyed, startled. Then suddenly sharp, genuine alarm saw sheer volume, thick, noxious smoke, seemingly pouring building next door. Building held tangible proof, guarantee potential future wealth. Shouts echoed instantly up down dark street. Lights flickered haphazardly nearby windows. Sleepy townspeople roused. Figures emerged uncertainly, porches drawn, escalating commotion, voices, quickly rising, confused, growing chorus panic. Fire! Assay office. Assays. Someone save crucial records. Exactly predicted Croft. Thorne Sheriff Brody emerged hastily, saloon porch. Looking initially annoyed, loud interruption, then visibly concerned expressions, shifting rapidly towards barely concealed panic, saw sheer volume. Smoke billowing, building, held key, entire illicit scheme proof, needed finalize Thorne's critical railroad deal. Failure not option. Larson, Thorne's man, mount to Angard, instantly reacted. Expected, running ponderously towards smoking assay office, adding, immediately, general. Confusion, shoutingusless contradictory orders, gathering crowd. Keep back! Everyone keep back now! Brody yelled automatically, trying desperately assert control, pushing roughly through rapidly gathering, agitated crowd towards front assay office. Croft wrung hands beside him, face pale, glistening sweat, flickering light, cast nearby street lamps. Ominous glow reflected smoke clouds. Thorne stared intently, thick smoke face, tight mask, cold, furious calculation, instantly assessing potential disastrous setback posed critical, rapidly approaching railroad deadline. Crowd surged forward, uncertainly confused, anxious, mass milling street, directly between saloon, dramatically smoking, assay office attention. Completely, utterly fixed, perceived threat assay records, potential future riches. Place them perfectly gathered, dense knot, just feet, dark entrance, narrow alley, where obscured, deep darkness, general chaos stack, empty rain. Barrels, Owen Hardy hidden, waiting, listening. Thomas scanned agitated edge crowd near alley mouth desperately. Couldn't see Hardy all. Good. Well concealed, hopefully, thin copper listening tube, pressed tightly, effectively, ear. Vantage point across street caught fleeting, almost imperceptible movement, deeper blackness alley. Storm bear pressed tightly against wall. Near shuttered backroom window, utterly invisible, anyone street. Sent silent, fervent prayer upwards, hoping conspirators indeed returned back room, perhaps drawn back inside. External commotion, discuss new. Crisis feeling secure behind locked door. Maybe arguing loudly carelessly about jeopardized deadline or boasting drunkenly cleverness. Dealing Cartwright. Gaze flicked nervously down street, searching signs, more deputies approaching. No, just more townsmen running late, chaotic scene draw noise. Heart hammered ribs like trapped bird. Any second now something had happened. Tension unbearable. Noise level street rose. Confused, panicked babble, shouted theories, fearful speculation fires cause, accusations hurled blindly. Some yelled uselessly water buckets. Brody bellowed contradictory orders, attempting organize futile, disorganized bucket brigade nearby horse trough, mostly adding chaos. Suddenly cutting through surrounding din, shocking clarity power, unexpected authority. Owen Hardy's voice rang out strong, clear. Hold on everyone. Wait just blasted minute. That smoke might not be real danger, facing redemption here tonight. Heads swiveled instantly. Babble died down abruptly. People squinted towards shadowy mouth alley. Surprised, powerful, unexpected interruption. Searching source, commanding voice. Brody Croft. Thorne froze instantly where, stood near assay office heads, snapping around simultaneously towards alley entrance expressions. Stunned, disbelief morphing, rapidly alarm. Hardy stepped deliberately out deepest shadows beside rain barrels, holding gleaming end thin copper tube, angled slightly towards crowd like strange metallic speaker's horn. Because I've been listening, declared voice ringing righteous undeniable anger, cut straight through lingering fear confusion. Listening. Real arsonists. Listening men, truly responsible. Fire did. Threatened town. Fire burned. Old Thomas Cartwright's land. Damn near killed. Him while Lethe's men plotted steal it. Stunned, breathless, absolute silence fell over crowd. All eyes, hundreds eyes, now fixed entirely disbelievingly, Owen Hardy. Nonsense. Brody blustered immediately, recovering wits, quickly resorting bluster, intimidation, taking aggressive step towards Hardy. Blacksmith's drunk, or lost mind excitement. Larson. Deputies, seize him. Inciting panic. Get back Hardy before arrest obstruction. Not. Drunk sheriff. Hardy shot back, standing ground solidly, feet planted wide like roots old oak, unintimidated. Telling you all exactly what just heard, coming clear damn church bell, through this copper tube, straight Thorne's private back room. Held up. End copper pipe defiantly gesturing back saloon wall. Thorne went visibly deathly pale hand, instinctively going suddenly tight collar. Croft looked might genuinely faint, swaying slightly feet, face sickly gray. Lying! Utterly lying. Seize him, say. Arrest him! Thorne shrieked, carefully constructed composure, starting crack voice, rising breaking, pointing trembling accusatory finger Hardy. Larson Brody's assigned muscle started forward, uncertainly edged crowd towards Hardy, but hesitated, visibly clearly uncomfortable, now under sudden intensisolent scrutiny entire town. Looked towards Brody confirmation, but Brody himself seemed momentarily frozen. Then ask yourselves. Hardy challenged crowd directly, voice booming, unwavering conviction, resonating known reputation, blunt honesty. Ask Thorne Croft Sheriff Brody. Why just back room, congratulating selves loudly, finally getting rid, old Thomas Cartwright good, bragging about it. Hardy saw Jed Sawyer's cowering miserably very edge crowd near livery stable, drawn like guilty moth, terrible flame commotion, looking like about vomit. Ask how much rot-gut whiskey paid Jed Sawyers over there lie them. Ask Jed himself. Ask about kerosene arranged poured thick up south. Ridge! Murmurs rippled through crowd now. Doubt, confusion, shifting unease, suspicion flickering openly eyes. People looked uncertainly, suddenly pale, sweating guilty faces. Thorn Brody then back solid irate figure. Owen Hardy, whose word carried significant weight town. Ask them. Hardy pressed relentlessly, sensing shift voice, gaining power-fueled years, suppressed resentment towards corruption about Thorn's fancy. Expensive boots, one's shiny silver crescent set heels, leaving perfect damn near signature print right there burnt mud where wildfire started. As spoke Hardy, subtly, deliberately nudged something small, glinting out alley's edge toe, heavy scuffed boot, wolf's head gambling token storm. Bear found, lay there glinting accusingly lamplight dusty ground. While asking Thorn boots, ask him mounting gambling debts. Ask why needs money so desperately so fast. Several men near front crowd pointedly looked down Thorn's expensive, now suddenly conspicuous boots. Thorn instinctively tried tuck one foot behind other. Sawyers let out choked sob, treed shrink back further shadows, looking utterly wretched. Ask Sheriff Brody. Hardy continued, voice dropping slightly but gaining intensity, focusing crowd's attention squarely. Sheriff now about personal grudge holds against Cartwright name. Rooted in that old land fight his own grandfather lost to Elias decades ago. Ask about threats just made room against Jed Sawyer's innocent wife-child if Jed didn't stick tight, lying story fed him. Ask why so invested destroying honest man. This twist revealed. Brody's face contorted, flash mingled fury, guilt, surprise crossing features. Personal accusation hit nerve deeply. Preposterous, slanderous, insane. Croft stammered, finding voice but sounding reedy, weak, utterly unconvincing. Delusional, driven mad fire. Arrest him, sheriff, order you. As mayor. Brody drew pistol, then hand, shaking slightly, face mask conflicted fury, trapped desperation. Raised gun towards Hardy but hesitated again, eyes darting nervously, wildly towards silent, watchful, judging faces crowd. Weren't moving help him. Weren't shouting agreement. Watching, listening intently, seeds, doubt, visibly taking deep roots, sprouting outright suspicion. Even with the old grudge known, Brody's current actions felt excessive to many. And while asking all those pertinent questions, Hardy's voice dropped further, then becoming suddenly somber, quiet, laden, deadly seriousness, commanded absolute, unwavering attention. Every person gather eight, ask them about other vile plans just finalized there tonight. Plans go beyond stealing land. Ask what unspeakable things intend do Comanche sacred grounds up Cartwright's land. Ask about blasting crews Thorn admitted already has waiting. Ask them. Voice resonated, deep moral outrage now, about cold-blooded intention scattered generations' ancestor bones, like common gravel destroying, irreplaceable, history-violating sacred trust, all for shining metals. That accusation struck different, deeper, more resonant chord within crowd, dynamiting burial sites, desecrating spirit springs. Even those townspeople held little love Comanche or believed superstitions felt fundamentally, profoundly wrong, deeply sacrilegious. Offensive God-man, uneasy glances exchanged, shame flickered faces moments before, filled only fear or acquisition desire. Low, angry growl began rumble through assembled men, dangerous undercurrent, collective moral outrage, finally stirring. Not everyone agreed, whispers of Indianan sense still scattered, but the majority recoiled. Lies! All damned lies! Filthy lies! Thorn screamed, suddenly careful facade arrogant composure, finally shattering completely under unbearable pressure. Yell lost control. Old man did set fire. Menace. Comanche helping him. Savages. Primitive obstacles standing maliciously way progress. Redemption's glorious future. Frantic venomous denial laced raw panic, undisguised contempt, betrayed utterly. Naked greed, desperate fear exposure, now palpable everyone. Have deadline meet. Crucial deadline. Railroad contract, depends securing that silver now. Inadvertently, foolishly confirmed driving. Forced desperate actions. Precise, pivotal moment, as if summoned ether. Thorn's venomous outburst against people. Storm Bear stepped silently fluidly out alleys deep, concealing darkness stand directly beside Owen Hardy. Wasn't holding listening tube, held no weapon visibly. Instead, holding up clear, hard-baked clay, imprint displaying distinct, undeniable crescent shape, Thorn's unique boot heel. Held high, letting catch flickering lamplight turning slowly so all could see. Face grim stone carved granite shifting shadows. Dark, piercing eyes swept slowly, deliberately across stunned, silent crowd, finally settling, burning, inescapable intensity, directly trembling. Bartholomew Thorn. Storm Bear said absolutely nothing. Stark silence following Thorn's screeching denial, tangible incriminating imprint. Held aloft, sudden imposing appearance. Comanche warrior himself. Spoke volumes more eloquently, more damningly than any shouted words possibly could. Comanche warrior appearing as if thin air, right beside respected blacksmith holding tangible proof, placing wealthy speculator directly seen. Arson's origin. Tipped scales irrevocably. Crowd gasped, collectively single indrawn breath comprehension shock dawning realization. Some still hesitated, looking between the leaders and the accused, but the momentum shifted powerfully. Brody faltered visibly gun hand, lowering slightly raw uncertainty, perhaps dawning fear flooding previously hard face. Croft looked genuinely ill, now swaying feet clutching chest. Thorn stared mesmerized, horrified clay imprint, then looked wildly Storm Bear's implacable face, own face, contorting hideous mask, pure hatred, cornered animal fear, utter disbelief, meticulous plan, could unravel so completely, so publicly. He framed me, Thomas Cartwright's voice called out, then clear, strong, steady, carrying easily across suddenly silent street shadows opposite. Judged moment perfectly. Thomas stepped forward deliberately light, revealing himself. Haggard smoke, stained clothes, torn exhaustion, etched deep every line face, but standing incredibly tall, straight, profoundly defiant. Bartholomew Thorn. Silas Croft. Sheriff Brody, driven by avarice, old unjust grudge against my family. Added, looking directly Brody now. Set fire, threatened all your homes. Lied you all. Coerced witnesses. Tried steal my heritage land just as carelessly planned. Desecrate heritage sacred grounds. Storm Bear's people. All for silver. All meet Thorn's pressing deadline. All built lies. Old Thomas Cartwright. Alive. Accusing town's highest leaders directly publicly faces. Standing shoulder to shoulder mysterious Comanche warrior, holding damning proof, trusted town blacksmith, risked everything, exposed truth. Too much. Broke damn fear, greed, complicity, uncertainty, held town captive weeks. Seize them! Man roared furiously back, crowd pointing directly now isolated figures, Thorn, Croft, Brody. Thieves! Liars! Would-be grave robbers! Arrestrial criminals! Another voice yelled, quickly taken up others. Mood turned instantly, decisively, explosively. Righteous, cathartic anger surged through crowd, replacing fearful confusion tidal wave. Townsfolk surged forward collectively, transforming seconds, confused mob instrument, rough, immediate, undeniable justice. Larson Thorne's hapless guard roughly shoved aside, disappearing angry throng overwhelmed seconds. Several strong, determined men, ranchers, storekeepers, ordinary citizens, grabbed stunned, suddenly powerless Sheriff Brody wrestling pistol, away easily before could even react, pinioning arms behind him. Others quickly surrounded trembling, blubbering Mayor Croft, utterly paralyzed, whimpering Bartholomew Thorne, faces grim, unforgiving, reflecting flickering light. Justice Rough Potent arrived, though a few muttered darkly about taking the law into their own hands, quickly shushed by the majority. Thorne snapping suddenly, shocked paralysis, high-pitched yelp, pure terror, panicked completely. Bolted suddenly, trying desperately scrabble back towards perceived safety saloon door, like cornered rat seeking hole. But Stormbear moved faster, seemed humanly possible, blurring surge, lethal grace, precision, intercepting effortlessly. Didn't strike Thorne. Instead, hooked deceptively simple, perfectly timed foot behind Thorne's ankle, sending wealthy speculator sprawling ignominiously, face first thick. Dirty dust street, so arrogantly, so ruthlessly tried rule. Thorne lay there spluttering, coughing, utterly defeated. Carefully constructed, corrupt conspiracy built, precariously lies, intimidation, manufactured fear, sheer desperation, crumbled, utterly collapsing. Itself, under sudden, harsh, revealing light, exposed truth. Truth brought forth improbable courage, unlikely alliance, forged fire, unexpected resonance, ancestral honor. Redemption nearly bought, paid, smoke shadows, coercion, avarice, perhaps finally, truly, painfully beginning, live up name. Suffocating darkness gripped town tonight, least decisively, cathartically broken. Immediate aftermath, swift, chaotic, but decisive. Brody Croft. Thorne found themselves ignominiously stripped, authority symbols, power, locked securely inside Brody's own stifling jail cells. Heavy iron bars clanged shut, satisfying finality, holding jailer, instead jailed. Heavy guard composed, newly deputized, grimly determined, trustworthy townsmen, surprisingly authoritative Owen Hardy, whose bruised jaw, split knuckle satisfied brief fierce scuffle, subduing one Brody's few remaining loyal, or equally corrupt, deputies insured remained confined. Hastily convened emergency council, respected town elders, bypassing disgraced, impeached Mayor Croft, entirely assumed temporary governance, redemption. First official act, dispatching urgent telegraph message, carried fastest rider available, summoning nearest territorial marshal garrison town, 60 miles away, outlining shocking events, requesting immediate federal intervention. Thorough search Nugget's notorious backroom, conducted under watchful eyes. Hardy, several council members yielded trove, incriminating documents, careless lie left behind conspirators' arrogant certainty. Hidden preliminary assay reports revealed silver deposits far richer, extensive than publicly disclosed. Detailed mining plans confirmed callous intention, use heavy blasting, near likely through Comanche sacred sites, efficient access. Coded ledger hinted cryptically payoffs, made Jed Sawyer's potentially others. Most damningly urgent coded correspondence between Thorne, Mr. H. explicitly mentioned railroad barons, inflexible deadline. Severe consequences. Failure confirming immense external pressure driving. Thorne's desperate gamble. Jed Sawyer's finding himself suddenly protected, rather threatened, broke down completely, provided tearful, detailed confession, entire coercion. Plot recounting Thorne's chilling threats. Wife-daughter admitting Brody's intimidating visits, cemented terrified compliance. Brody's personal vendetta, Cartwright's rooted, disputed, land claim, lost grandfather, decades prior. Thomas's grandfather Elias lost Brody, always perceived unfair, fueled bitterness. Now exploited Thorne. Also came light through Sawyer's testimony, later corroborated older townsfolk remembering long, simmering resentment. Sunrise several hours later painted still smoke-hazed sky above redemption, tentative fragile colors, bruised hope. Streaks pale pink tentative, gold struggling against, lingering gray pall. Thomas Cartwright stood steps, now heavily guarded SA office, weary beyond measure, body aching, but spirit strangely light, vindicated. Townsfolk gathered near B Street faces, reflecting complex turbulent mixture, residual shame, profound relief, lingering fear, newfound, hard-won. Respect directed old man so recently ready condemn. Awkward hesitant apologies, mumbled hands, tentatively shaken offers, help humbly extended. Some faces, however, remained shuttered, perhaps reflecting unspoken disappointment about the lost silver or clinging to earlier suspicions. Toxic, paralyzing fear gripped redemption, weeks slowly, cautiously being replaced, fragile, newly forged sense community, tempered, harsh, sobering. Lesson how easily manipulated, naked acquisitiveness, manufactured panic. Owen Hardy stood solidly beside Thomas' arm, now bound tightly, makeshift sling badge honor, earned during brief, fierce scuffle, overpowering Brody's last loyal deputy, initial securing jail, but beaming exhausted, profound satisfaction. Found himself being hailed somewhat uncomfortably local hero, awkward lie deflecting praise, gruff modesty. Stormbear observed, unfolding scene. Silently, impassively deep shadows, edge Cottonwood Grove bordering town. Swiftwing perched calmly, watchfully shoulder once more. Sought no accolades, no public recognition, place white man celebration, justice restored. Purpose, protecting sacred ground, censuring festering sickness. Greed, disrespect exposed before could permanently scar land spirits. Fulfilled, least dangerous moment. Long silent understanding, look past between him, Thomas, across intervening distance. Look spoke volumes, shared ordeal, unlikely alliance bond. Rooted far deeper friendship, anchored firmly ancient earth itself. Subtle, almost imperceptible nod exchanged. Then Stormbear turned melting back. Trees disappearing silently, mysteriously arrived. Emergency seizure, Thomas's land, enacted under false pretenses. Immediate lie declared, illegal, null, void, acting town council. Ownership, doubly reinforced, now public exposure. Elaborate conspiracy, communities renewed profound respect, reaffirmed unequivocally both. Makeshift locala, overwhelming public opinion. Days later, after grim-faced, formidable territorial marshal, arrived contingent steely-eyed deputies, reviewed evidence, taken sworn testimonies. Formally taken disgraced former leaders. Thorncroft, sullen hate filled Brody. Away heavy chains, face federal justice, arson conspiracy. Attempted murder, corruption violation, federal land treaties. Regarding native sacred sites, Thomas Cartwright stood once again, own cabin porch. Sturdy log cabin itself, survived inferno, miraculously shielded wide creek bed. Tireless coordinated efforts, numerous townsmen who once shocking, truth fully known, worked furiously alongside him. Hours driven, guilt, desire, redemption, beat back encroaching flames, threatened engulf home. But land itself, beloved kingdom, deeply grievously scarred. Vast swaths surrounding hillsides, blackened skeletal trees, standing stark, accusing charcoal strokes against wounded slopes. Faint acrid scent, cold smoke still, lingered stubbornly heavily air, constant grim reminder violation. Healing Thomas knew looking out devastation under sky still, hazy residual smoke, would take time. years, perhaps generations. Storm Bear appeared soundlessly as if materializing, recovering edgefire, scarred woods, moving usual silent grace. Carried small, carefully wrapped bundly young tree saplings, delicate roots, protected damp moss. Earth remembers wounds inflicted her. Storm Bear said quietly voice, low murmur, blending sigh wind through surviving pines, gesturing chin towards vast scarred landscape stretching before them, carries scars. But she also renews, always. Offered precious bundle young saplings respectfully Thomas, pine fir, aspen. Gathered carefully high ridges where fire not reach, where winds pushed away. Carry strong spirit resilience within. Wish grow here again. Thomas took young trees gently, almost reverently fragile green shoots. So full, improbable life. Stark, poignant contrast against backdrop. Blackened devastation. Long time, said voice, thick emotion, weight loss, narrowness, escape, immensity, task ahead, settling upon him. So much lost. Time measured, slow turning seasons. Old one, not impatient, demanding, ticking white man's clock. Storm Bear replied, wisely gaze, drifting towards distant hidden canyons. Ancestors rested undisturbed, thanks, part fight. Land, infinite patience. Seen fires before, both natural man-made. Would do well learn her enduring spirit. Paused, dark gaze becoming more direct, practical. Shining rock silver still lies deep beneath wounded roots. Men's appetite, restless, hungry spirit, may return someday wearing different face. New deadlines, new promises, wealth, new temptations surely arise when memories fade. Maybe so. Thomas acknowledged soberly, glancing back towards redemption-estled valley below. New even now, despite exposure arrests. Some townsfolk still mutter bedressenfully lost. Fortune, virulent mineral fever, not entirely cured, only temporarily suppressed. Lingering suspicion towards himself, certainly towards Storm Bear, would remain some quarters. But perhaps now, added finding core optimism, perhaps enough think twice before believing easy lies. Perhaps enough learned at hard, bitter lesson week about lines should never ever crossed, about true cost, unchecked desire. Look directly Storm Bear, profound, unspoken gratitude, clear, deep, tired eyes. What will do now, Nokona? Where path lead? Watch. Storm Bear said, simplizing word encompassing lifetime vigilance. As my people always watched mountains, listen winds whispers through passes. Guard sacred memories stones hold safe. Paused again, rare, almost indiscernible softening around eyes. And you, old friend, will remain scarred place? Thomas looked out over ravaged but enduring land. Cabin stood solid, comforting, tangible link past future. Creek chuckled, timeless, constant song promising life renewal. Felt rooted here, inseparable, this earth burned whole. Stay, said single word, resonant, quiet, unshakable determination. Plant these trees brought, tend them, watch grow. Live as father, grandfather lived before me. Respecting boundaries, both seen, unseen. Met Storm Bear's gaze again, profound understanding, deep, abiding gratitude of passing, between without need further inadequate words. And remember, always. Storm Bear nodded, slowly gesture, profound agreement, respect. Then turning without sound, walked back towards sheltering, recovering trees, meltinge effortlessly dappled sunlight, beginning tentatively filter through damaged canopy, becoming one again, wild, resilient wilderness, guarded, embodied. Thomas watched go until disappeared completely view, then sigh, carried weight 70 years, also lightness, survival, justice, found knelt down slowly, carefully, old hands, surprisingly steady. Began dig gently scarred ash, rich earth, near porch preparing ground. Unwrapped first tiny sapling, Gently placed moss-covered roots, small hole, tamping soil firmly, lovingly around fragile base. Brought precious water scooped nearby creek, cupped hands, poured slowly, carefully around little tree. Small act. Single vulnerable green shoot planted against vast backdrop devastation. But beginning. Tangible promise, whispered directly wounded land. Quiet testament tendering stubborn power resilience, embodied defiant spirits. Both human Comanche living ancestral, refused bow meekly, encroaching consuming darkness. Wind sighing through high branches, surviving sentinel pines overhead, carried lingering pungent scent ash, yes, but now, mixed faintly within carried breeze. High country, faintest, freshest, most hopeful promise, pine resin resilient, quiet songland perhaps, community beginning slowly, tentatively, courageously heal. Whispers redemption wouldn't be solely precious metals long while yet, be justice unexpectedly found, deepest darkness, improbable courage, born desperation, unlikely alliance, save themselves enduring heavy, inescapable price, corrosive avarice, willful forgetting history. Scars land hearts people remain permanent reminder.